almost shifting. We got pizza, moving boxes, or else checkers beats us. Life is rough here in the depths of space. If shit set comes a-knocking, we shoot them in the face. Gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, hail cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo. All right, I got another verse. I hear a boy coming right in my instant, and it just asks me why I blew them all away. But I feel so great now with sovereign Cargonia. Every round we stand our ground. Gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, hail Cargonia, gun cargo, 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 hail Cargonia, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo, gun cargo.
Get back to work.
I have a box in front of me, and I don't want to open it. You all see what's over there. You all see what's on that screen. And the only way I'm going to get through this is because I'm sleep deprived as hell. And I should be in bed, dreaming of nice cooking things, because I am going to cook tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been given a present. Or should I say, a punishment. Like Icarus, I flew too close to the sun. And the pain and misery that I inflicted upon Lady Red with the novel has now been reflected onto me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the Twilight House. Lovingly detailed in 2001 pieces. The thing I hate the most about this is the house itself doesn't look like a bad build. Better yet, I'll pet my marauder. I'm currently building that. So, how have you guys been enjoying the second weekend of the subathon? Hell of a wrestling show. Eye break. Tamu, I redeemed that eye break. I'm going to sleep. You all are trying to prevent me from doing this to myself. And I appreciate that. But no. It is the blood price for my hubris. So I need to sort these bags. And then we will start redeeming some of those things. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There is 8. There is 7. Oh, hey. You'd be helpful. Oh yeah, no. I appreciate you all coming out to see this insanity, even if this is something for you to attempt to fall asleep to. Let me get the ambiance going. Ah. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 bags. Alright, let me go find some water. Water required. All right. Let's get started, shall we? Lego Ideas fan designer Nick Michaels, I know who to blame. Lives in Sacramento, California. By day, he works at a school. By night, he roams local musical theaters as a drummer percussionist, though not to our knowledge as a vampire. Let's not read this. No. No. I have only so much bandwidth right now. So I'm going to do what's best for me and not go to sleep, but instead torture myself for your all sick, twisted enjoyment. Yeah, Screamos. I've been a bad doctor, and someone told me I need to build the Twilight House. And so, I am building the Twilight House. Alright, hi Bella. I hate you. You are a horrible Mary Sue of a character who has little to no redeeming qualities and is essentially just a vehicle for the novel to happen to. You take no agency nor responsibility for the consequences of your actions. I am just going to start this off with an oops before this existing. Lady Red, you're more than welcome to join me and tell me all about how horrible Twilight is and how it is a horrible representation of the Pacific Northwest. No, so I had a reading phase in high school, and I vividly recall just going to the library every day, or most every day, at high school.
Nice.
There is nothing nice about this, Ether. There is absolutely nothing nice about this.
There's one thing nice about this.
Hi.
Hi! I thought I would pop in briefly. And the nice thing about this is revenge, because you deserve to have to suffer through this just for a little bit.
Oh, no, I know. Have you finished the book?
I have not. I am steadily working through it, but because I know I'm going to be rewriting it, I'm not feeling in a rush. Because I'll need to reread it anyway for the rewrite.
Yeah, it gets ever so slightly infinitesimally more bearable a little bit towards the end.
At least there's a very slight uphill climb to look forward to then.
It goes from a steamy pile of dog poo that you stepped in barefoot at 2:30 in the morning while you're hungover, to a neighbor kid leaving a bag of dog poop outside of your trash can on their walk.
Okay. Now, that is a marked improvement from where the book starts, so...
It's still poop.
Yes, but it's at least poop that, you can dispose of without too much hassle and
because at least it has mechs in it. Because at least it has mechs in it.
Oh, well, where we started with the mechs wasn't great.
Okay, so that's how that goes on. So, when you popped in, I was just about to tell everyone about how I discovered Twilight existed.
Oh dear.
So, in high school, I would regularly go to the library after, or like during my my lunch break, and just voraciously read and check out whatever. I went through a lot of fantasy and young adult fiction like that. One of them I really want to find again. Two of them that I really want to find again. One of them is essentially about a kid who is following his uncle, and they're essentially planeswalkers who go through tubes to different worlds. Mm-hmm. And I swear to God, I think the name Pendragon is part of this.
It's not ringing any bells to me, but it sounds cool.
And then the other one is like a kid who is going through a like a time like an interdimensional time tower, which he starts assembling a sword which is made out of pieces of an hour or of like a clock.
Okay.
I really enjoyed those, and I want to find them again because they were interesting. Anyway, I'm just devouring like the fantasy fiction section of this of my high school library, and I find, oh hey, what's this? It's got a chess piece on it. Okay.
That's how they lure you in.
Let's check this out. And let's check this out and see what it's about. And I got a chapter and a half in, and then I realized, oh god, it's utter tripe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then years later, through my dad and his love of Mystery Science Theater 3000, we discovered riff tracks. And riff tracks riffed the Twilight movies.
As they rightly should.
And one of my most enduring favorite things to ever come out of that is, and I think I've talked about this with you while we were discussing Twilight Tertiary, while discussing the book. Is during the long scenes when Bella and Edward are looking at each other, one of the riffers just like whisper yells off screen, line. Come on guys, what's my line?
Yes, mistaking silence for suspense is a definite crime of those movies. And I'm really pleased to say I've never seen any of them.
If you do, get drunk and watch the riff tracks version.
That would be the only way to watch it, is with something like that. But I've been very fortunate in my life that I've been very protected from Twilight in certain ways. At the time when it came out, my sister worked for a bookstore in the UK, and she was like, yeah, this stuff's coming in. It's apparently supposed to be the next big thing. Read it. It's not really that good. I don't think it'll be, your thing. I know you won't like it, but yeah, it's all right. And then, of course, it took off, and she was like, yeah, I hate this book. I hate the people that brings it to the store.
I hate this book. I hate the people that read it. I hate the person that wrote it.
And it hit at an interesting time. So sort of my interaction with the literary world as a person growing up in the UK, we used to have several book chains, and growing up we would always go to Hammocks, was where we'd get our books from. And the couple of times that I met Sir Terry Pratchett, he was doing signings at the Hammocks in my local town. and that was very cool. But Twilight came out sort of as the bookstore chains were dying, and there's basically only one bookstore chain in the UK now, and that is Waterstones. And the only reason Waterstones is
there's only really one besides like the local mom and pop stores now.
Yeah, it's
Barnes
over
and
here.
Noble.
It's Barnes and Noble. Yeah, so in the UK it's Waterstones, and the only reason that Waterstones is basically still afloat and doing what it's doing is the gentleman who owns it is from Russia, and
may or may not have interesting avenues to acquire funding.
Need to process that funding. Yes. Precisely so. So you've basically only got Waterstones now, and my sister did move over to working for them as they bought out hammocks, etc., etc.
The demise of Borders is also very interesting.
Yeah, I remember when I first came over here there being Borders stores, and now there's not. But
yeah.
that's the problem with print media is the age of the internet really has killed the variety.
Did we
of places to get print
already
media.
encounter a problem? No, we didn't.
Oh no! Oh, you're good. Oh, thank goodness.
Oh God, I'm good. Oh God, all the pieces are
Yay!
here.
I can continue building this stupid house.
So,
but I was protected from the movies because one of my friends sent me a picture from one of the later movies where they had the CGI baby, and that thing is just horrifying. And I was like, nope, never touching that again.
Celtic, it is Pendragon? Sweet, okay, thank you.
Nice.
Um,
The books I had growing up that were the ones that I found really influential, like the ones you were talking about, that that you enjoyed and were just devouring, is back when we still had hammocks. They had a series of all different sort of young adult book series that were going on, and they weren't necessarily series where one book followed the next book followed the next book, but they were like all in a category. So you had the point fantasy, you had point mystery, point romance, and so it was a genre of a pool of different authors writing in that genre for the sort of young adult group. And because these were vetted, they would nearly all of them were excellent. And my sister and I would fight over one particular book that I owned it, but it would disappear off of my shelf very regularly because my sister had stolen it to read again. And it was a book called Brog the Stoop. And it's a young adult dark fantasy story where the world is basically split into two halves. You've got like the light half where sun happens, and then the darker half where it's almost always in twilight because of the geography and how things work. And the Stoops live in the twilight half, and there was this other race that I can't remember what they were called at this point. I need to go back and read the book again. But they were like the bad guys in it, and the problem is that they weren't getting the light periods that they were supposed to have, brief as they were. It was causing all these issues, and Brog the Stoop is your hero of action who goes off to solve the problem and heads out to find out why the light isn't working anymore, and essentially finds an orb of creation at the end of his journey that's malfunctioning. And as he fixes it, he then has to try and get back to his world as the light is beginning to resurge and it's killing him. And it's a really powerful story for a young adult to read, the call to adventure and etc. etc. It's a great book. It's a really, really good book. What were the other ones that we had? That was the other ones that I read. There was a brilliant set of books. It's what got me into sci-fi, other than slipping into it through Anne McCaffrey's works in sci fantasy. My mum got me into a pair of books. She got me into the first one when it first came out, and it was called Memoirs of a Dangerous Alien. So, of course, you pick it up and you start reading it, expecting it to be about, memoirs of an extraterrestrial.
Is it
a
human in space?
It's a human on Earth, but it's a young adult book, so it's a teenager, but they're one of the only people on Earth who comes to know that aliens are out there, and Earth isn't ready to fully join the society yet. So for the most part, Earth isn't aware and isn't part of it.
Fuck's the stickers?
The human teenager is the dangerous alien. And reading that as a young adult who hadn't come across that sort of subversion before those books were really, really good, and some of the gadgets and things that turned up in it, and the
The
spy elements that they
the
built
humans
in.
are space orc fantasy.
Not so much space
trope.
that sort of trope, yes. And that was one of the first books I ever read that had that in it. So that was a sort of real eye-opener for me when I read those books. And I got those from W.H. Smith, which is the newsagent that still exists in the
Okay,
UK.
I just put the license plate sticker on Crooked. Fuck it, I'm leaving it. He got in an accident.
No, that sounds correct. That sounds correct. Is this the truck that her dad got her?
Yeah.
That she's completely ungrateful for? I just hate that.
Your father just bought you a vehicle that you do not have to pay for. You ungrateful shithead.
Charlie is the only relatable, nice, decent character in that
I don't want
series.
you hanging out with that boy. He's not good for you. How the fuck right he was.
Yes. He's like, look, you're struggling, your mum and your stepdad, the lifestyle that they're living isn't really conducive to the phase you're at in life. I am totally fine with you coming to live with me. I will get you a vehicle. I will give you your independence. I will give you a chance to have, different options. I'm not going to constrain you and put all these ridiculous rules on you. I'm just going to ask you to do reasonable things and keep me company. And bitch, spend some time with your dad. Charlie is the only decent character in those books. I feel so sorry for him.
Oh my god. Like the actor they got to play him, just the long suffering look that is just permanently etched in his face is just mwah. Chef's kiss.
Poor, poor, poor man who did nothing to deserve all of this nonsense.
Back to young adult fantasy. One of them that I also remember was basically young adult Victorian steampunk with
nice.
With airships.
Sweet.
I wish I could remember that or remember it, because it was actually really cool how they were describing how airship travel and in-flight maintenance and pirate attacks piercing the hydrogen or helium bladders would or whatever they used would affect travel and their survivability.
Nice.
And then, for some reason, I believe one of the sequels put them on a space elevator where they discovered weird creatures in the outer atmosphere, which was weird.
If they used it to good effect, then that's fine.
I just remember reading it and going from, okay, we went from Crimson Skies, dirigibles and air pirates to a scientific expedition on a space elevator? And all of a sudden there's space whales?
I mean, it is a bit of a shift.
Yeah. No.
I do like me some steam fantasy, though. I mean, that's what my main series that I've been writing, it's a steam fantasy. But we read to my book club a really interesting series of books. When we got tired of reading absolute dross for a bit, we decided to read some good stuff. We read a series called The Glass Books of the Dream Eaters, which are good books, but they're really interesting, not just in what the author is presenting and how, but also the reason why the books exist and exist in the format that they do.
Okay.
So the person who wrote them, he is a playwright and does stage shows.
Okay.
And of course, one of the things I'm always wittering about on my stream is that the mediums that you present stories in and your respect for your audience changes how you do certain things. It's why a video game narrative is different to a movie narrative, is different to a book narrative. You can tell the same story in all of them, but the considerations are going to shift. And this was a gentleman who's used to thinking in terms of the act structure and visual scene setting that's used on stage, and decided to write some novelizations. And it was originally released as a web serial,
Okay.
but then was actually published as a series of novelizations. And that made the pacing and the way that the scenes played out fascinating, because it was written in that sort of visual, serialized fashion that would have worked really well on a stage, but it came across as slightly strange in a book.
May I make an aside really quick?
Go for it.
I think that's one of the reasons why I slightly struggled with reading Oliver Twist.
Yes.
Not necessarily the same thing, but serialized in a magazine, newspaper thing.
Yes.
So the pacing wasn't, oh hey, here's the book. It's, oh hey, I have a deadline, let me write something.
Yes, yeah. And when you put yourself into the headspace of why certain media is written in the way that it is, that can sometimes make it easy to digest. I mean, Oliver Twist it comes from the same sort of place as, say, the Penny Dreadfuls did. And you wouldn't read the Penny Dreadfuls the same way that you'd read a novel today. So when you approach something like Oliver Twist, it helps to have that his history in mind. I find.
Anyway, the playwright and webcomic.
Yes, Glass Books. So Glass Books of the Dream Eaters, one of the reasons it worked so well is it having that sort of strange, ethereal pacing and way things were laid out worked because of the tone of what you're being presented in the book. So the story is about it's set in the Victorian era, and you're sort of industrial, steampunky, slightly scientific magic kind of setting. It all makes sense when you read it, but it's very sort of Frankensteinian in its gross science that's just on the wrong side of practical, but it's believable to its own narrative. You're following...
Yeah, absolutely.
You're following a young society lady called Miss Temple, who her father owns a plantation in the Caribbean. She's coming of age and has been sent to the UK to become an adult.
She is of position.
Yes, but she's of position from the colonies, but she's now living in England, and she's looking to, marry a suitable bachelor and follow the usual progression for a lady of middling society, as she
positions.
is. But the story opens with her having had a letter from her fiance saying, "I never want to see you again," and she is furious about this because, having come from the colonies, she has learnt to develop a temper that people who are living in the city just would not show. And she's like, I have done nothing to be rejected like this. I don't understand what's going on, and I am going to demand answers. So she goes off to her fiance's house to find out exactly why he has decided that he will not in fact marry her, and that leads her into the sort of deeper mystery of what's going on, because as it turns out he hasn't dropped her for the usual reasons, that there is weird stuff afoot, and it's where these glass books come in. They are made with an alchemical science that allows memories to be stored in them, and the person that the memories come from forgets them, but they're now stored in the book and anybody can relive them over and over and over. And there's a cult behind it all that's trying to take over all the positions of power in what's effectively the first world at the time, and it's a whole series, but the characters that are in it are so interesting. You've got Miss Temple.
It's always a cult.
Yes, but it's a fascinating cult in this one, because the author went into it with, I'm going to write a cult and it's going to be fun.
Lady Red.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
yes, you must vroom vroom.
Vroom 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 vroom. Vroom vroom vroom.
Now you need to get Bella out of the trunk and make them kiss, because that's the other thing you have to do with models.
Oh, Dark Helmet, your Schwartz are so big. Those
Who
were
else should have as characters
those
of it?
were the only action figures made for the movie. Exclusively for that joke.
Yep. And how wonderful that is. So who did we have characters-wise? We have Miss Temple. You had the Cardinal, who's a mercenary. And I just love the evocative things the author did with backstories. He is a underworld mercenary who at one point would have been a moderately well-placed young man. He was going to school, but he challenged somebody to a duel and he got struck across the eyes with a riding crop, and it's damaged his eyesight. So he has these unique glasses, but just that slight backstory just gives the character so much depth, where, you know, he's fallen from this level of grace where he didn't necessarily fit in, and it's just such an evocative Victorian thing to have gotten into a duel and been struck across the eyes with a riding crop. So you got him. You've got the German doctor, who is attached to a prince, a German prince who's visiting the UK and ends up being drawn into this conspiracy. And the doctor is, you know, trying to do something about it and surrounded by other members of his court system who are also part of the cult, and, you know, everything that's going on with him. You've got some various other female figures that get involved at different points, though those three are sort of our main characters. But the Cardinal had a thing for a courtesan, and she gets picked up by the cult, and the sort of like the ultimate thing that they're trying to do is they create glass people. They transmogrify some people into living glass, and they have all of these, you know, ridiculous, effectively psychic powers. It all makes sense in the context of the book, but the courtesan is one of these. And because she's made of blue glass, and the whole thing with this blue glass is that it stores memories and can project memories, at one point he gets to see himself from her point of view.
Ooh.
And of course it's just soul crushing because she doesn't see him the same way that he saw her. And just the emotional impact from stuff like that, it's really compelling. We had a great time reading these books. They were a really, really good time. And moral of the story, I would rather read those any day than Twilight. Twilight has no soul in it. Twilight would never play with anything like that.
So
there are authors out there writing these weird and wonderful things, and that's where joy is.
No, so can we take a moment while we're on that subject of rather read that than Twilight, to just talk about, like, why Twilight just fails as a romance book, just like kind of as a book in general, but like why people are always saying still a better love story than Twilight.
And the simple reason for that is because there's nothing human in Twilight. Nothing that... no, this would have been written in the early 2000s, Night Owl, but it was before, you know, AI became, you know, the thing that they are today. But the thing with Twilight is there's a reason why only Charlie really stands out. It's because Charlie's the only one having any kind of human reactions. Bella doesn't make sense. She's very blank slate, but which is somewhat on purpose, but she doesn't have any motivators or drive. All she has are complaints. And while there are people in the world who exist like that, you'll find that they're not people that have happy romances. Nobody wants to be around somebody who complains all the time, and that's all Bella does. She complains that, you know, the school is too backwater, even the colour of the scenery is incorrect, her mum isn't good enough, but neither is her dad. Her dad's even worse. She doesn't want to be here, but this is her only chance of having something a little bit different because things aren't going well where she'd rather be. It's just complaint after complaint after complaint. She doesn't aspire to anything. Even with Edward, once she meets him, and this is what you were saying when I first jumped into stream, is she has no agency. She has no agency because she doesn't want to have agency. So she's not doing anything for a compelling reason. So you just end up tuning out. And you can't build a romance with that. You then add in Edward, who basically has the same problem. And the only interesting things with him are the few snippets of his backstory that you get told. And those are interesting because he doesn't react to them correctly. Especially when you get to the point where he's like, yeah, my dad who made me, he created me before he then went on to get obsessed with the person I now refer to as my mother.
Ooh.
Which is a really weird dynamic.
That's...
So, these should be the things that matter. But they don't, and they're just mentioned and glossed over. And I don't think Stephanie Meyer noticed that that's a weird thing, because it's added as an afterthought. It's the same with Alice with all of her powers. Her powers are an afterthought to be whatever Stephanie needs in the moment. She didn't put any thought into things, into her story, into her plot, into her characters. We've been doing on my stream for the book we're going to be writing with chat. We've been looking at how I do character creation.
No,
and
I've
character
been tuning
creation for
into
me
a couple
takes
of
a
those here and there.
long time. Yeah, because we want the characters to have goals, aspirations, flaws, ways that they behave, ways that they're presented that are understandable, and figuring out what some of that shorthand is that you use in narrative. For the character that we've just been inventing, his body language was something we focused on this week, because how you describe how people stand in a book is shorthand for the reader of what this person is like, what their personality is like, what they're currently thinking, what they're likely to do. There's none of that in Twilight. The way Bella stands or the way Edward acts or moves is never in service to who they are as people. It's in service to, and now, the big reveal that Bella has realized he's a vampire. Okay, that's cool, but why does she care? That's the actually important bit. How does she feel about this thing that she's figured out?
I
and when
don't
you
understand these instructions. Oh, that's why.
Is it having you put things in a weird way because stuff's supposed to move later?
No, it's having me put things in a weird way, because this entire bottom portion is just one giant mosaic.
I wonder why they made it so complicated. If it's not because bits move, why does it need this?
Because it's bad. It's from what little I've read of Twilight and from what little I've watched of the movies, it just strikes me as a movie where as a setting where things happen to people because.
Yes. And chat's got some good points. Watcher of the Chap says about Bella, like, not in the I'm actively going to ruin your day type of misanthropy, but the kind that makes you just a pain to be around. Like, even her friends don't exactly seem to be that comfortable around Bella, which absolutely. And the reason that they're not comfortable around her is because there's no genuine connection there, because what are you going to connect to? All you're told about Bella in the first book is that she's the new kid and she's inherently good. That's it. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
She's inherently good because she didn't come from here.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. She's not good because she, does charity or anything like that. She just is. It's like the whole nice guy thing where, well, but I'm nice. Okay, but what does that mean? And that's like the baseline. Everybody should be nice. Everybody should be good. And it's the times when you have flaws and failures despite that, and what you do about them, the important things in life. There's none of that in Twilight. And then somebody else said, where was it? My family is false and artificial because the unhealthy desires of the creator sounds very Frankenstein monster trying to play house and failing. And playing house is exactly what Twilight feels like. It feels like somebody on their own playing house with dolls, and half the story is inside their own head and is never bothered to be delivered to us. We don't ever get to know why it's important.
What's up with that entire scene, that entire fight scene that all of a sudden was just like, oh, it was a dream sequence.
Which book did that happen in? Is that in the first one?
No, like one of the, like...
Because I've only read the first one and refused to ever pick up the others.
Okay, good. I think this is in, like, the third one, when everyone is fighting over Edward and Bella's kid.
Yeah, so I haven't read that. But that's always something that's so dangerous to play with in a narrative. Like, It Was Just a Dream is such a pitfall.
And it's like I feel like there's a way to make, oh, it was all just a dream, like, useful for the narrative, but it's very hard and should not be attempted by an amateur.
Yeah. And it's the sort of thing where, if you're in school and you've been assigned an English literature project and you bring to your teacher, a story that has in it at any point, it was just a dream, your teacher's giving you an F.
Yup. No, what is it? What the?
Unless it's Nightmare on Elm Street, yes. Then the dream is the point, and it's completely fine, and it knows not to take itself too seriously.
3. There. Yes. Okay. That's very
Celtic
confusing.
Spartan said, if we are told someone is good, we would like to see them do good. Being nice does not mean you are good. Bella was neither nice or good. And that is, again, part of the problem with the Twilight series, is it does an awful lot of telling and not a lot of showing. And what it does show us, unintentionally, because I don't think Stephanie Meyer meant for it to be the case, but it is, what it shows us is Bella being a terrible person. She's not likable.
I like so much not likable that at one point didn't like Edward actually run away.
So Edward does run away, but it's not because he doesn't like her. It's quite the opposite, in fact, and that's the problem. Is he says, that you get to the end of the first book, and they've gone to prom despite her having a broken leg or whatever the hell was going on, and despite the fact that he knows that she doesn't like that sort of thing, and he's made her go anyway, and then we get to see all of the vampire girls dancing, combining styles of all different eras, and we're supposed to believe that could have in any way looked good. And then they kiss under the portcullis or arbor or whatever the fuck it was out the back of this school that doesn't make sense. And it's supposed to be kind of, happy days from there on out, except then there needed to be a sequel, and Edward leaves because it's too dangerous to be around her all over again, which completely ignores the themes and what we're supposed to have cared about from the end of the first book. And he doesn't give Bella any explanation. He just leaves, and her very sane and rational response to this is, I must keep putting myself in danger because then I get hallucinations of him. So I'm just going to try and accidentally off myself over and over and over again so I can see my not boyfriend, who is so emotionally unstable, just like I am. He's fled the state and didn't tell me where he was going. What?
It's like he valued his own mental health more than being with you. It's like, what the hell?
Yes, noises of anguish. Many noises of anguish.
This is a lot of just...
Word of Blake makes more sense than any of this. Yes. Yes. And again, this is why you keep hitting the whole thing of it's a better love story than Twilight, it's a better narrative than Twilight, etc., etc., is because Twilight is most notable for being bad. And it's that earnest side of bad that makes people comment on it. It's not like some of the other dross that I've read where it's so bad it's funny, or it was earnest and somebody tried but they didn't have the skill set, but you can see where if they had had it, it would have been good. It's so bland. It's uniquely interesting in how bland it is.
Oh yeah. Like, it's just, how bad can they make vanilla?
Yes. And it's all of the unintentional subtext that you end up picking up as a result. That, you know, the author didn't intend to be a point or a theme, but ends up becoming a point and a theme because, I mean, there's nothing else there to focus on. Like the fact that the ultimate theme of the story is predestined love. Part of this whole thing is that Bella is inherently good. She is the redemptionist and savior for Edward, who is a cursed soul who never meant to be. And they're destined to be together for the ultimate happily ever after. That's the theme that the book's trying to go for, whether it knows it or not. But the problem with that is what you've done is you've gone, yes, predestiny is a thing, fate is a thing, and the only way for these two people who were destined to be together was for one of them to become damned to get there. And that's not a good message. It just isn't. It's tofu, it's all tofu. Yes, I agree. That's a very good way of putting it, Watcher of the Chaps.
I saw someone say pick a faction from 40k, guarantee they make more sense.
Well, yes, because 40k is ridiculous. And it's unapologetically ridiculous when it's not being just completely hamstrung by GW's attempts to make the most amount of money possible. But the reason Warhammer's compelling is because it's so broad. It's got the exact opposite problem, that you can make anything. You can ship anything into 40k or make a 40k version of it because it's got a unique visual identity, it's got a unique setting personality that you can layer over things. It's got so many unique elements to it, and its scope is such that you don't have to use all of them all of the time for it to still be recognizable. So 40k, you end up with, you're literally on the other end of the spectrum, and the problem is the company that's now trying to make it more narrowly focused because they're after money. And no, it was better when it was crazy 80s nonsense and everybody, including the writers, was clearly on drugs.
Stephen King has entered the chat. We're going with stern, disappointed dad.
Celtic Spartan says, I think Edward was needing a break from a broken record that thinks being constantly depressed is normal and only looking at a negative side of things is normal. A life viewed through negative lenses will be negative. The only problem with that is that Stephanie Meyer decided that Edward's superpower was that he can read people's thoughts all the time, whether he wants to or not. He should be aware of the vast, complicated nature of humanity, and it should be fascinating to him. As a vampire, he's only 123 years old, which in vampire terms is not that old. He's only gone through, effectively 2 human lifetimes. And the amount of people that he will have had the chance to encounter during that on all sides of the spectrum should have given him some deep insight into the myriad personalities of humanity, the different ways people process things, neurotypical people versus atypical people. He should have these deep thoughts about what it is to be good or evil, what causes it. He is in a unique position to study and understand the human condition from an outside alien perspective of anybody else that's presented in the books. And he just doesn't. He just doesn't seem to care, and the only reason he is first interested in Bella and continues to be interested in Bella is because he can't hear her thoughts. Which, to a certain degree, that could have been an interesting thing to play with, but the juxtaposition against all of the people he can hear and their nuance and variety and interest, it doesn't make sense that it isn't there. It makes him unbelievable. Or just inherently unlikable.
Oh yeah, he's don't know, like, just the longevity of vampires is such an interesting thing, and I think she just dropped the ball.
Yes, I mean, part of the reason why Twilight winds me up so much is that I have had a fascination with supernatural creatures, especially vampires, since I was in my formative years. I have always enjoyed that sort of thing. And I got into Vampire the Masquerade almost immediately after finding out D&D was a thing. And of course, that was formative for me. And so I have played a vampire character online, in games, etc. for the better part of my life at this point, to the point where it affects my online persona, etc., some of my interactions with people, and we have a fun time. That's fine. You know, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing stuff like that. I think it makes life more interesting. But to then come across somebody who's taken this thing that for me I'm very passionate about, that I enjoy, that I think is a fascinating way to look at the human experience, and to use the unique power we have to be writers and impart ideas from inside our heads into somebody else's head, and have them experience something that doesn't exist in the world, but you know, you can conceptualize, and have somebody else conceptualize that. And she made something so milquetoast and bland and boring when she had all of the tools at her disposal to do something interesting. It's just so sad and aggravating.
I think that's what disappoints me most about Twilight, is it's like, it could have been a good book.
Yes.
But
the concept of writing something...
With any other competent writer.
Yeah. And the reason why the concept appeals is the idea of exploring, you know, young love with immortal characters and somebody who isn't, the concept of a change of state from being one thing to another, human to vampire, virginal to no longer, child to adult. These are all really core themes of being alive, of being human, of understanding the point of life and your place in it. And to just choose not to do anything with that, I don't understand, especially as we've mentioned it, all the things that she had that she'd brought into play and then just didn't do anything with. She doesn't do anything with the fact that Edward can read minds. She doesn't do anything with the unique social setting that is high school. That's mandatory school phase of life for human beings is it's a unique constructive social architecture that we put ourselves through, and we do it for good reasons. There's a reason why we want people to go to school, and there's a reason why the social dynamics in school are the way that they are, but it's unique to that point in your life. And it's what makes a teacher's experience so different to a student's experience. And she does nothing with it. And then she decides to bring in that we've also got the werewolves, and she wants to bring in a love triangle, which, if you're going through that very human experience of being a young person with developing hormones, developing romantic relationships, and having different people that you might feel different levels of attraction to, discovering what love really is, the difference between love and lust. She does nothing with it. And it drives me nuts. I'm upsetty.
Upsetty with your spaghetti.
There is far worse smut out there, hippocampus hamster, and some of it is derivative Twilight, which makes it inherently worse. Some of it, though, is it's worse smut, but it's more genuine writing because it exists for better reasons. It knows what it is. It knows it's trash. It knows it came here just to talk about body parts and have... No, 50 Shades is its own unique problem. But 50 Shades did try to do more than some of the other derivative stuff has done. I will give it that much. But
there's a reason why this is the late night stream.
If anybody... is anybody aware that 50 Shades is not the only thing that author has written?
Yes.
Yes, because that's where part of the problems come in. E.L. James, who wrote 50 Shades, also wrote The Mister and then The Misses.
Let's keep this discussion as PG as we can.
I will do. The The problem is The Mister was what E.L. James was writing before Twilight happened, and they shifted to 50 Shades, and then they went back to it. And if The Mister was the only book they'd ever written, nobody would know who E.L. James is. Crimson Rogue, fantastic YouTube channel if you've never heard of him. Crimson Rogue did a review, and he described The Mister in the best way anybody has ever described it. He called it erotic boredom. Because if you think nothing happens in Twilight, even less happens in The Mister, and the few things that do happen, concerning. Because E.L. James had the same problem Stephanie Meyer did. Their first work was published. It did very well, for, frankly, bad reasons. And as a result, they received an awful lot of criticism. And thus, in their subsequent work, instead of just improving their writing, they tried to address the criticism through their writing as part of the narrative. You see this in Twilight with the rewrites of Twilight from Edward's perspective and the gender-bent version. But in particular, from Edward's perspective, that version of the Twilight story exists purely to try and flesh out Bella as a character, to deal with the criticism of Bella's boring. The Edward side of that story tries to make Bella more than she is, and it just doesn't work. And as a result, because the author was more focused on, my original character's totally cool and this is why, she doesn't realise the bad things she's putting into place for Edward, because she's not letting Edward be the focus of his own story, which is a really bad idea. The same happened with The Mister. E.L. James took the criticism of, you've very badly represented this particular adult community, and you have put into print some very concerning stereotypes and internalized misogyny. She tries to address that through The Mister. And again, it ends up making things worse in certain areas because she's not focused on what she's actually writing. She's focused on trying to go, I can totally write consenting adult times. Yeah, you did, but you introduced a whole slew of new problems as a result, and some of them are worse.
Oh, God. It's...
Look, Hippocampus Hamster. I have a library of many things. I have good books. I have bad books. I have bad books people now send to me because that's apparently a thing we now do. And I also have books that tackle adult content. And some of it's really well written and there's no excuse for it to be bad. People need to do better, damn it.
You are passionate about words.
I am. Writing is, I just think it's just one of the most magical things that we have as a species. I'm very, very passionate about writing. To a certain degree, I don't even mind bad writing, because bad writing is part of the lesson of learning good writing. It's like any artistic pursuit. You don't tend to start off good. You start off, as with anything, any skill, to doing your best and making mistakes and fixing them. And it's the people who refuse to learn from their mistakes that drive me up the wall the most.
Example of good writing and probably creating a genre.
Yes.
Gulliver's Travels, I
Yes.
think, was basically created the satire genre.
I'd have to do some research on that, but I can see it.
Because
I cannot speak authoritatively on that idea, but I like it. No, Zayako, I haven't, sadly.
Yeah.
Celtic Spartan says if you have any anatomy books, I think she'd be interested. Celtic Spartan, I'm literally looking at a copy of Grey's Anatomy up on top of my desk of literary stuff that I'm working on. I have a side desk that's covered in notes and art books and my personal setting, and I have a copy of Grey's Anatomy up there.
Of course you do.
You have gotten the kicky feet. I'm being told by the babies and the husband that we're getting very close to needing to be in bedtime.
Well, it's definitely bedtime. I'm not going to get
I'm probably gonna do a couple more bags, but it's fun.
Yeah, congratulations! When you're done with this project, you're gonna have a really ugly Lego house.
The thing about it is, the house looks fine. It's a very genius Lego build. It's just unfortunately in a Twilight set.
Sorry, I'm being distracted by doggos. The boy is being adorable.
No. I'm still mad at Saris.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I still, to this day, have not figured out why the hell she did that. Cheeky girl.
Full eye contact.
Yep. She was delivering a message. One day we might know what that message was, but... that dog. That dog. Personality 5 times bigger than she is. We went to visit Doctor Who on our grand trip to move cross country, and while we were there, after Ceres is very good. She is the best of our dogs at letting us know when she needs to go out to do her business. She just decided at one point to climb up on Doctor Who's ottoman, look him dead in the eye, and pee on it. She just did. Quite possibly she did it purely to embarrass me. I did mention love. Twilight is such a bad book, and I hate the look of the Twilight House. So when we were reading through the book with my book club, because they made me read it, and I hate them all forever, but I did kind of deserve it. I'd put them through some nonsense. I'll tell you about the first book I read to them in a minute, but they made me read through Twilight, and we got to the bit with the house, and I am somebody who lives in the Pacific Northwest. I live a couple of hours away from where the story takes place. Well, we could very much visit Forks if we wanted to.
I believe.
And as I'm reading
you
through
also
this,
mentioned this with the Puget Sound and the bridge
Yes.
in the book.
Yes, because apparently all bad romance books must take place in the Pacific Northwest specifically to annoy me, because they end up with locations I know mentioned in them. And it annoys me terribly. In Hungry Like the Wolf, they literally drive over Deception Pass Bridge. And I was so annoyed. But, I could go to Forks, and I know this area of the country pretty well at this point, because I live here. And yeah, if you're in Seattle or you're pressed right up against the Cascade Mountains, it does rain a lot, because the weather blows in from the ocean. I lose the Discord, it went badink. Are things working? Let me have a look. Apparently so. So, if you're against the Cascade Mountains, the weather has to drop its load before it can cross the mountains. So, it rains if you live up against the mountains. If you don't know, if you live along the coast, a lot of the weather blows over us. It's beautiful where we live. We get some rainy days, but mostly we get mornings that are a bit misty. And then we get... Oh, can Doc not hear me? Uh-oh. So chat can hear me, but Doc can't. Would you like me to try... hang on, you're not going to be able to hear me. I'll have to type it. I'm going to try doing a disconnect, reconnect. We'll see what happens. Has that fixed anything for you, Doc? Hello?
Hi. I'm back.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I literally had to turn off my headphones.
No, you're fine. It has fixed. Good job. The stupidity is that I hadn't realized anything was wrong because,
Rants.
that and, it was clear chat could hear me. And then I was like, oh, Doc can't hear me. Oh, this has gone weird. Oh dear, what was I ranting about? Oh yeah, the depiction of the Puget Sound. So anyway, it does rain a lot here. It does get damp. It does get mossy. It can also get absolutely beautiful, and we have lovely dry days as well. We have Silent Hill mornings, glorious afternoons. It's great. But one of the things that I wouldn't want living in this area, I wouldn't want a house that's mostly glass, because you are going to be cleaning it constantly. And I don't just mean inside, I mean outside as well, because it is a frequently damp environment. The damp doesn't always last, but during the winter it doesn't always clear, so you get a lot of moss here.
A lot of
one of the things that we have to do fairly regularly is make sure that there's not too much moss growing on the roof, because it adds extra weight, it retains water, it's bad for your roof. And it's not like you have to go up there every couple of months and clear it, but I would not want a glass house. It's just the worst idea. You do get some modernized houses in this area. There was one that was being constructed when we first lived here before we were shipped down to Florida and came back. But even those modern style houses they've put up, while they do have strong glass elements in them, they're not the majority of the house. They're strong feature elements, but then you've also got those sort of like modern grey flat walls that make up the outside and the slanted roofs. You don't want too much glass because you're just creating work for yourself. So when we read about the Twilight House and we were visualizing it in our heads, I was like, this house does not belong here. It's going to look out of place with all of the Dutch-inspired architecture that you tend to find in this part of the world, and it's going to be a nightmare to clean. And then they started describing the interior, and I was like, how does anybody live here? This house does not make any sense. And now you get to build it.
And it's like the vampires are pretending to be human.
That's one of the things that annoys me again, because she writes in Esme, the mother vampire, and Esme is apparently an architect and is working on all these different projects, and she's designed each of the houses that they've lived in, which just tells me that 1, she's a terrible architect, 2, she's highly influenced by whatever the current trends are, irregardless of whether they fit wherever it is she's decided to build. But we're never given any details. There's this one moment in the book where Ed was like, oh, she's working on a project. Maybe this will be our next house. There's no description of what the project looks like, what kind of files he's looking at, what she's doing, what makes it interesting for him to look at. That's literally all you get is, yeah, she's working on a new project and maybe it will be a house we move into one day. Like, cool. You decided this character needed to have a pretty interesting job and then tell us nothing about it or how her personality is expressed through it. Good job.
Very good job. She does a lot of telling and not a lot of showing.
Yes, that is one of her greatest sins. Which, that's an amateur writing mistake. Everybody makes it in their early writing. That in itself makes sense. But the fact that her work was picked up by a publisher and no editor ever had that meaningful conversation, that will start me another rant about the state of the modern publishing industry, though. And I will be here all night, and I need to go to bed very soon.
Yes, it's only slightly more stupid o'clock here.
So Hippocampus Hamster says the Cullens have people to clean for them. They can't afford to do that, though. Not monetarily. Monetarily, they can absolutely afford to do it. But if the whole point of the Cullen family and the vampires in this setting is that they sparkle in sunlight, you're not going to convince the window cleaners to come round at night. And if they come round during the day, and you're living in a small community in the Pacific Northwest, and they're there to clean your exterior windows, and conveniently nobody's home, at some point people are going to start asking questions. Or they're going to see somebody catch a sunbeam inside the house with all the glass windows that let the sun in, and, there's going to be problems. none of the world building in Twilight is thought out. It's all everything is in service to the whimsy of the author, and she was in pure whimsy mode, which, if she was just writing for herself, would be fine. But the moment that she expected other people to pay money for her dross, it is where I start holding her to standards. And yeah, Twilight bad.
Let's answer Hamster's question. Murder on the Orient Express.
Murder on the Orient Express is a wonderful book. Very, very fond of Agatha Christie novels. I have quite a few hardback collections that are scattered through my house, and I keep one of them in the guest bedroom, and it includes Murder on the Orient Express. It is a great story.
I very much did like the Doctor Who episode with her.
Yes, that was a very good episode. I enjoyed that very, very much. I'm trying to think of what the most recent thing that was a real page-turner for me was. I've unfortunately read a lot of bad books lately. Some of which were page-turners. So sometimes bad can be really interesting. That's a really good book I read. So the other problem I have is I tend to reread books that I like a lot. Technically speaking, my answer is Dracula, because I read Dracula very regularly, and I love the way that book is put together. It's unsurprisingly one of my favourite books. More recent novels, we did do the Glass Books of the Dream Eaters, and we did find that very hard to put down, and I hadn't previously read the final 3 books in that series, so those technically count, I guess. I'd have to go to my bookshelf otherwise, so this is the problem with reading too much.
Problem?
Bad media that's like seeing a train wreck? Yeah.
Oh, this is a piano.
Yes, the piano, where Edward plays music to Bella. And oh god, that's so cringe. So cringe. And Gedge doesn't do anything with it. Not meaningfully, anyway. The last bad book that I read that was a real page turner would have been Model Land. Model Land is a uniquely interesting, terrible book. It's one of those where you have to keep changing the page, turning the page, because you're like, well, what insane thing is she going to write next?
This is a very good little piano model.
Is or isn't?
It is.
Oh, excellent. Well, at least something good has come of this. Does the lid move? Ooh, that's not bad. That's pretty cool.
Probably going to be the best part of this entire construction.
Yes. We've discovered which bit is worth saving. The piano. Yes, Boot Porridge, that was Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks wrote Model Land. And that book is completely insane. It's ridiculous. It's bad. Do not go into it thinking it's good, but it's the kind of bad I think everybody should read, because I guarantee you'll have an interesting time with it. It's not a good book, but it's fascinating. It is fascinating in its terribleness.
Well, the rest of the house is sleeping, so I'm trying to be very quiet.
You're being a good person.
Tell the rest of the house that.
Castus is recommending anything by Adrian Tchaikovsky. He does xenofiction so damn well. I don't think I've read any books by him. I do need to.
I think I read his... I think I listened to his overture.
Tchaikovsky, no! Tchaikovsky, yes! Tchaikovsky, always, yes!
How do you tune a cannon?
You apply the gunpowder.
I love actually like watching like military orchestras play that with their artillery going off in the background.
Yes.
It's very good. The railing. Why the railing?
Tell you what was an interesting young adult novel I read that had a very interesting romantic subplot going on with it, that wasn't your standard. There's a book called The Redemption of Althalis, and it was by Eddings and his wife. They worked together on it. I think I've got the right author. But the concept of the redemption of I think it's the guy who... No, is it the Shannara guy? The guy who wrote the Shannara series? It's very late and I'm very tired, so my authors are all blurring together. But he's a very famous author.
2 hours later for me. Don't hate me.
But The Redemption of Althalis is a story of a thief in the medieval setting, effectively. And he is a thief who just seems to have all the luck in the world. He's incredibly good at his job. He's very flamboyant and flippant, and he does a phenomenal job doing everything that he's supposed to do. And then he takes on board this one job where he's due to go to this country he hasn't been before and rob the place. And he turns up there to do the job and rob the place, but when he gets to where the, prize should be, he finds all of this paper in a safe, which is completely useless to him, and he effectively fails the job. And this is the first major failure he's had in his entire life. And you think the story is going to be about that, and it isn't. Basically what happens with it is the country that he's sent to has invented paper currency, and he's not aware of that.
Oh no.
So there was all of the useful stuff in the... Oh, that's what's going on. There was all of the useful stuff in the safe, but he didn't know it was useful. But the reason why he failed the job ends up being more complex than that. And it's a really interesting use of the sort of Deus Ex Machina God thing. What it turns out is that the reason he's been so lucky all of his life is literally Lady Luck has taken a shine to him and allowed him to be as successful as he's been because she needs him for basically the greatest heist of all time.
Okay,
and
what is this book? I need to read this.
Redemption of Althalis. And he kind of ends up romancing Lady Luck.
Please, please message me this book. I will
I
acquire
will
it.
do, and I will look up the author, etc. tomorrow. But it's just... it's not a great book. There's a lot of things that happen in it that are convenient, but that's kind of part of the point. But it is a fun book. It doesn't try to be more than it is. And I just found it really interesting. And there is a time travel element that's involved in it because he ends up time skipping into the future. But it's just one of those books that had really interesting ideas and presented them to you in a way where it didn't have to be, an award-winning, amazing book, but it just had something fun to say and wanted you to be part of it. And it's a much better romance story than Twilight!
The paper currency thing reminds me of the, what is it, the Wheels of Industry series in Discworld, or at least how it's described in Discworld. Just like the guy heisting a bank into existence.
Yes.
Oh. So yeah, it's like if this house was in any other location, like it would be a good house.
It makes me wonder if the author... I don't know why Stephanie Meyer decided the house had to look like this, and whether perhaps it's because this is architecture she's familiar with from living, in a desert environment, where maybe that... But does that make more sense in a desert environment? Do you want to let that much sun into your house? I don't know. I don't know. It
I
certainly doesn't
think
help that it's not the kind of
not.
architecture I like.
You
I
want
just
more
hate this
indirect
house.
light and shade.
Yeah, I would not want to live in this house. This house doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit for the area that it's supposed to be being built into, in my opinion. And romance novels really need to stop abusing the Pacific Northwest. We didn't do anything wrong. It's nice up here. David Eddings and Leah Eddings. I was correct. It was Eddings. Hooray! My brain has not turned to complete mush, despite the fact I desperately need to be in bed. But yeah, don't go into The Redemption of Althalas thinking it's going to be the world's greatest book. It isn't, but it is a fun book. And if you just take it for what it is...
all I really need in a book is for it to just be fun.
There's another series I've spoken about on my stream that's a fun series that exists for a strange reason that I very much enjoy, and that's the Enchantica books. I don't know if you were there for that stream. Do you know anything about Enchantica?
The resin models.
Correct, yes.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, it was the stories that were written so
They're
that...
like $70 now for a cheap one.
Yes. I will have a copy of all of them in time because I'm inheriting my mother's copies of those books when the time is right. So it'll be very nice to have. But I really like the idea that they were like, hey, we're really passionate about this thing. Oh, you won't let us make this thing that you own the intellectual copyright to? Fine, then we're just going to create our own thing, and it's also going to be awesome. It's not going to be as in detail, but it serves its purpose perfectly. And again, it's just fun.
Just people having fun, that's all the world really needs.
Yeah, some absolute classic things have come from that, where people have not been willing to allow people to work with certain IP, so, people make up their own thing to allow them to do interesting stuff. We wouldn't have Nosferatu, for example, if the Bram Stoker estate hadn't told them no. And then they made it anyway, and just changed just enough of it to be legally distinct, because no, this thing deserves to be in film. We really want to explore this cool story in a new media format.
Really? The Bram Stoker estate didn't want a film of Dracula?
Yeah, basically, because they were making it without intending to pay any duty or royalties, and,
oh, well, in that case...
IP law never changes.
Yeah, Lamborghini was made out of spite.
Yeah. Spite is a wonderful motivator. I know a lot of people in chat are very familiar with the late, great Sir Terry Pratchett, who has been a wonderful inspiration to many people I know, including myself. The Stoker estate did still sue, as they rightly should have, because it was very clearly a rip-off of Bram's story. But they were just attempting to change it to be legally distinct, and German copyright law these days is incredibly interesting and complicated, and we're not going down that rabbit hole. But Sir Terry Pratchett, his motivating emotion to create was anger. He was very angry at the world for not being more fair or more sensible in places that it really could be, because we have the ability to make it that way if we really wanted to as a species, and we just didn't. So he wrote comedy from a place of anger, and then it's a wonderful motivator. My creative emotion is spite. Most of the things I do purely out of spite. I write out of spite, I draw out of spite, I create things out of spite, especially if somebody tells me these days that I can't do something. Like, you know what? I might not do it well because I've never done it before, but you can't tell me I can't do it. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do it. And then I go and do the thing. And hopefully I get a little bit better by doing so.
I'm looking at a whole bunch of painted miniatures that I didn't think that I could do, but it's not necessarily out of spite, but it's just like, oh, hey, this is pretty fun.
Zayaku says he bets I can't go to bed. Writing to get things out of your head is very important, Wilf. There has been times in my life where that's absolutely been a thing as well, because I cannot keep seven different settings in my head all at once. Some of them have to end up on the paper. And then I decided that I'd create another one with Twitch chat and the BPL, and now Shoal exists, and now I'm trying to hold 9 settings in my head.
And like 11 different people's perspectives on how something should look.
Yes. And you know how much detail I go into with my character creation.
Oh, so much.
Storyboards are useful, and it's one of the reasons why I love Scrivener so much, is its corkboard feature. It lets me just throw post-it notes onto a corkboard where I can just throw down ideas and then sort them out later.
Okay, relevant XKCD.
Let's take a look. Which one is this? Situation. There are 14 competing standards. 14? Ridiculous! We need to develop one universal standard that covers everyone's use cases. There are now 15 competing standards.
Yup. How is there an XKCD comic for everything?
Because the guy behind XKCD is a real human being who's very good at translating his life experience onto paper. It's why there's also an oatmeal comic for everything. Right, all that said, all this ranting and nonsense aside, I really should go to bed because the dogs will be up for breakfast at their usual time, whether I like it or not.
And I should this is probably going to be my last bag as well. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me for nonsense and inflicting this upon me.
Well, thank you for letting me join you for nonsense and infliction of chaos and craziness.
It's how we show we care.
Yes, yes, and I hope you will get many more hours of pain from this model kit because you deserve it. You know what you did.
I know. I've told Chad about it many times.
Yep. Yep. And then Neff sent me a book, so you've started a trend.
I saw that, and how is that even a thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Sayako, I've read Go the Fuck to Sleep. I've listened to the audiobook by Samuel L. Jackson. It's very good.
There's 2 more
Night
books
Owl, the
in
other
that
people
series.
chan for everything.
There's 2 more books in that series.
I don't think I've read those ones. I will have to read those ones. What are they?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
I'll have to look it up.
There is a distinct lack of quotes about Twilight in this book.
I mean, that's probably for the best. I mean, what was it going to say? Nothing happens.
We literally just talked about that.
I hate Twilight so much. Such a bad book. Right.
Good night.
I have to go to bed. If you're very unlucky, chat, if this ever happens again, if I ever turn up to Witcher About Writing on another one of Doctor Who's streams, I will tell you...
There we go.
I will tell you guys about the first bad book I ever read to my book club. I can tell you the title of the book before I go, if you would like.
Please.
The book was called Why I Sued Taylor Swift and Became Falsely Known as Frivolous, Litigious, and Crazy.
Is this non-fiction? Is this non-fiction?
This is non-fiction. This will be a story for another day because it is a long story. Doc is broke. We have killed him.
I hope you have nightmares.
It's not a crash grab book. It's way more interesting than that, Castus. No, it's not banking on the name. The person who wrote it literally did sue Taylor Swift, and it is a story about that series of events. And you are not prepared for the level of crazy and idiocy and nonsense that goes on in that book. But it will be a story for another day. With that, I'm going to go to bed. Have a lovely day or night, chat.
Go to bed, you little chaos goblin.
I will. I'm going to gremlin my way out of here. Love your faces, chat.
Good night.
Good night!
Oh, God. That is definitely a series of words that exists as a book title. All right. Oh, hey, look at that. It exists on an angle. It's a choice. Lady Red, go to bed. That way it can't hurt you anymore. Insanity of a glass house. Why all of these little stupid details? Yes, of course, let's make a shrub. Great. Here we are. There's a story there. There's a story there, Zyko. This is a very competent Lego model. It's just tainted. Okay. Why do we have a slab? Return the slab. Okay, this is the last bag. Oh god. Bookshelf. Alright. Let's finish up this, Oh yeah, Psycho, like, immediately, like, I was just struck with how lonely that piece must be, and how lonely the puzzle must be as well. It's like, I know puzzles don't have emotions as such, but just the imagination was a much more compelling story than Twilight. What was Ernest Hemingway's favorite six-word horror story? I bet you do. Yes, I do. Well, that as well, but, no, for sale baby shoes never worn. There's a story there, and it is heartbreaking. So am I, Hippocampus. So am I. Beige. Red. All right. Here we go. Of all the Lego bookshelves that I've ever constructed, this is a pretty good one. Zyku, we've already written a better story than Twilight. Too many stickers. Okay. What the fuck did I miss? This. I love how this house affects a garage door. That's a garage door. Where's the garage? Garage door. Where's the garage? There is only bookshelf. And this, dear viewers, is where we must leave you for tonight. For I am getting far too tired, and the house needs to go to sleep. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and having fun with me and Lady Red. If I could, I would go and build the entire house. But I can't, so I won't. Take care of yourselves. And hail, hail Cargonia.
Hold on.
Land of stolen things, obey the quartermaster, unless he's a ling. Miners don't die today. Cargo techs push freight. Our enemies in disarray. All hail Cargonia.
Still a lot of
Get back to work.